This service that the MBA degree sometimes does is makes you want to feel like you're an all-rounder and you know everything about.
It makes you a little more individualistic,
Yeah.
which actually takes away from your ability to appreciate other people's skills
Yeah.
in a team.
I have been in such a hurry to get to this point where I'm performing in a team that I have ignored the first three parts. And today I know that this is how teams get formed and this is how they become top performers. If you're entering a toxic atmosphere, you can take up the mantle of actually trying to dismantle that a toxic atmosphere, or you can say that look, this is a toxic atmosphere and this is not where my best talents will be used, and maybe it's time for me to look for a different team.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the AltUni Career Show. We are in our series with the great Kunj Sanghvi, head of content at Kuku FM. We already done one amazing show on the mentorship issue. Today, I want to bring our attention to something that we are all a part of. We all work in teams. It is one of the integral parts of a professional's life. How do you operate successfully in a team? The question that I feel all of us need to ask ourselves is, are we even wanted in our team? What is our role in our team? Do people even think that we are needed? So that's the angle with which I'm going to now ask Kunj to help us figure out how teams operate and how we can connect that to learnings from cinema. So Kunj, over to you.
Ankit, when you look at famous teams in cinema, one of the most famous teams are the team of superheroes called the Avengers from the Marvel stable. You know, there has been research on it to say that it's actually how the team has been composed over there has a certain logic to it. If we look at the top four characters that we think of when we talk about Avengers, it's Iron Man, Captain America, the Hulk and Thor. And you will realize that as you scratch the surface a little bit, each of them plays a unique role in what they bring to the table. Iron Man is the genius billionaire who understands tech in a very deep way and has been able to bring the abilities of tech. You can call it he's weaponized it, or you can say that he's found a way to use them to stop the bad guys. Captain America is more about the grit, physical strength and the physical ability of it, and also his military training makes him perfect to lead a motley bunch like this. There is Thor, who when you are Avengers, you are guardians of the entire galaxy, you need someone who is expert not just at the human aspects but also the godly aspects, the other planetary aspects of it. So Thor, being a god from a different planet, plays that kind of a role, again coupled with very unique strengths, which is harnessing the power of thunder to be able to destroy the enemy. And then there is the Hulk, who actually plays a dual role, and we will talk about Hulks in our organizations as well, who when they are angry, they can destroy anything in their path, and you just have to bring out the Hulk and all your challenges, your problems will be solved. But even a Hulk who's not angry has a role to play, where he's a scientist, an innovator, a conscientious person who's working in the gullies of Calcutta to free the poor of their problems. So each of these four people, when they came together, if you've seen the Avengers series, which I'm sure you have, you'll realize that they follow this classic transition that someone goes through when they are actually in the process of becoming a team. So when disparate characters come in, while they complement each other and help push the larger goal ahead, they don't start doing that from day one. Typically, there is the forming stage where people are actually getting to know each other and making early first impressions. When you start making first impressions and you realize that this is not a team of homogeneous people, everybody is a very different personality, it leads to a situation which is called storming, which is that there are storms, there are arguments, there are fights, there is discomfort in being able to work this way. Everybody will say that this is how I'm used to working and this is how we've been working, and I'm not going to change it for you. So that kind of a storming thing happens, and early on when teams are just coming together, storming is a great sign of people not hiding things, not being politically correct, and that means that things just move faster. All the conflicts, all the arguments, all the fights, all the personality traits need to come out sooner, there is the storming. Because of the storming, you understand certain things about your colleagues, about like Hulk understands that okay, this is how Iron Man functions. This is what the moral compass is with Captain America. So if if the morality of the team needs to be driven in a certain direction, then Captain America is the person for that. If we need to do something crazy, something out of the box, something that does not exist today, then maybe Iron Man, being the innovative guy, is the one to go to. And then if you are looking for something that is just like you just need to have ability to execute something, which is called talent in our setup, then you go to someone like Thor. So each of these people have a role to play, and because of this you form certain norms that in these situations this is the person who will take the lead, in these situations there is the person who will drive us, and that is called norming. So there is first there is forming, then there is storming, then there is norming. You're making norms as a team that this is how we are going to function over the long term.
Right.
And then comes the most beautiful part, when everything is working perfectly, you're creating music, you're creating magic, which is called performing, right? I have been in such a hurry to get to this point where I'm performing in a team that I have ignored the first three parts. And today I know that this is how teams get formed, and this is how they become top performers. No team, you will never enter into a team where it is performing at its peak and you're not just going to just go along for the ride, because those teams don't exist where they have people along for a ride. Teams which function well go through these phases, which is storming and norming, before they start performing. And that is why I would recommend that when you ask yourself that why am I a part of this team, am I even wanted in this team, maybe ask these questions: that am I being vulnerable enough, am I being my truest self so that my truest ability can come out, and am I being complementary to all the skills that everybody else in the team has? Because if I am doing just the same job that someone else is doing at maybe the same ability or slightly higher ability, I am not bringing truly a differentiated value to the team, and then I am setting up myself for being let go in a tougher time.
Bringing you to ironical that I am bringing you closer back to Bharat, but if you think about picking up from the examples that you gave, I think a great case study could also be Lagaan, where again you see people fighting with each other, people who don't agree with each other, who are forced to be part of the same team, but then eventually they figure out a way to become.
There is literally there's literal complementariness in someone who owns chickens and someone who knows how to hit chickens, right? There are so many different elements that need to come into a team, and again, sport is beautiful, and in that cricket particularly, because every team member literally has very well defined roles to play. And literally, if you want to win at sport or at work or in business or any other aspects, you have to play certain roles. This service that the MBA degree sometimes does is makes you want to feel like you're an all-rounder and you know everything about.
It makes you a little more individualistic, which actually takes away from your ability to appreciate other people's skills in a team.
So if you see the early scenes, sorry, I'm going back to Avengers, but if you look at the early scenes of Avengers, you see that people are competing where they are supposed to be collaborating. Okay, and the MBA puts in that same habit, because you competed for so long for your placements. You don't realize that once you're in the organization, the biggest skill that's going to take you forward is how to collaborate. So
I think we've seen a lot of challenges even with the live projects that we give at AltUni, and people are working on live projects with Unilever, with Decathlon, and then they end up fighting.
There's a 20-minute presentation and there are 5 people in the team, so they want to break it down exactly 4 minutes each of presentation. It doesn't matter that who is better at speaking and who is better at making and who is better at ideating. Everybody wants to present.
Yeah, not just that. In fact, as you rightly pointed out, the forming, storming levels itself. There are so many storms that take place, but not for the right reasons often. And it comes from the fact that we are trained to compete in such a way that we feel that my own team member is also a potential rival. Which is not actually the case. But that maturity to understand this probably happens over a period of time.
I think it's also better to understand that there is a privilege to the MBA, that you are not at a stage where everything is a zero-sum game anymore. Once you've made it to a certain decent B school and you've gotten into a certain career, now you need to be a lot more secure as an individual. That is another change that people don't talk about enough.
So Kunj, one of the most memorable parts of a lot of people's lives when you ask them, when they worked in a team, is when they say about a particular difficult situation that came up. Sometimes you have to conjure up a team from scratch. Sometimes they have to suddenly figure out different ways to attack a problem and solve it. And then that journey seems almost impossible, seems very, very hard. But once you are on the other side of that, it ends up becoming one of the fondest memories of your life. One of the examples we already spoke about also talks about it. So what do you think of?
First thing I want to tell you is that it is true that during a crisis, often the great teams really come together. Why this happens? This happens because you have been compelled to now have a singular goal as a team.
Correct.
Okay. At all other points of time, every individual has a different goal. I want to shift to this department. I want to get into this company. I want to show this kind of a raise. I want to do this, that, everything. Right. I want to win awards for my marketing ads. Right. But when there is a crisis, suddenly you've been forced to just look at one objective, which is that we have to survive through this and we have to achieve XYZ profitability or whatever it is. So that thing gets solved by this cheat code, which is the crisis, okay, which is having one goal, which often teams struggle for. Classic example is Lagaan. Not everybody wants to play cricket. No, not everybody wants to defeat the British.
They don't even know what cricket is.
Yeah. The thing is, they don't even want to defeat the British, right? They don't even have that intent of saying that we want to overpower these guys or anything of that sort. They have their own lives that they are drifting by and living. Now, because of the lack of rains and whatever other circumstances, because their Raja refuses to eat meat, now they are stuck with having to pay double, triple the taxes that they were supposed to pay in a year where they have no produce. And Amir Khan stands up and accepts this challenge by the British general, saying that, defeat me in a cricket match and I will forgive all the Lagaan, right? That's where the crisis starts for the village, that okay, how are we going to avert it? You see a lot of meetings happening with the Sarpanch, but suddenly, during a crisis, the anointed leader is not the leader and the leadership shifts to Amir Khan from the Sarpanch, where Amir Khan says that no, I'm going to beat these guys, and he starts enlisting people for the team. Now here is the crisis and here is the team that has been formed, and each of them has a certain role to play during a crisis. There are people who are extreme optimists, like the wicket keeper, who's the de facto doctor also of the team, right? And then there are those who are just brutally honest, okay? The guy who's almost sold to the British Raj, the guy who bats as well as Amir Khan but isn't given as much credit because he's not Amir Khan. And then you get help from unknown quarters also. For example, the English ma'am who helps them out in actually making them understand how the game is, because she also understands that look, these guys are in a crisis and it is unfair, and maybe as an external person I should help out if so many people are cohesively trying to solve this, right?
Yeah, and I think they beautifully show the progression in how everybody starts contributing in the village. People figure out ways to help them practice in the night with mashals.
Yeah.
And then there are people from different villages who come and support.
Yes.
And then you have suddenly a guy who is part of the Indian army, who is miffed with the British, who suddenly comes in and says that I've heard that you guys are trying to defeat the British and
kamar kas liye usne.
Yeah. I'm going to come and help you guys, do that. So you're right that often the crisis sometimes leads to forming of a team, and it brings people together, and there is something attractive about a team that is working together in unison towards a single purpose, right? It gets everybody excited, and you then eventually start getting help from quarters that you never thought you were going to get help from. So I think that's also another hallmark of a great team, right?
They are sold on the story of that team. They see that team and they feel that kind of camaraderie and what they are trying to achieve, and they want to help out.
Now, if I am a early career professional in a team today, how do I evaluate myself in terms of what is my role in the team, what is my contribution, am I part of the right kind of a team, and what is my duty as a team member to ensure that I am able to create the kind of atmospheres you've been talking about, previously.
Just to summarize the various examples we saw with Avengers and Lagaan being in the front, one is to come in and be yourself to the hilt, okay, when you are entering into a team, and see how people are reacting. In an atmosphere that is already a little charged, where a lot of people don't like to work with each other, that will be taken as another affront. But in an atmosphere where everybody is being themselves and being themselves to the hilt, it will be appreciated, and they will quickly find a place for you in the team. The other thing is, once you come into the team, there will be situations where you will play an assistant's role sometimes, and sometimes you will get a chance to step up and shine. So being able to see which are those points of time is very important. Often you will have this hurry when you enter into a team that I want to quickly do that one big thing and stand out and make a reputation for myself.
Right.
But at that time, if you do it too soon, you will be stepping on too many toes, and you may really not be able to get that much of a difference made if you've not understood the setup and you've not understood the functioning of the team. So there is a right time to do it. You should definitely do it. Try to get an early win under your belt once you get into a team, so that builds your reputation, that tells them how you are, etc., etc. But there's a right time to do it. Once you are into the team, it becomes important how you are functioning during a fair weather and during a crisis time, and that's where Hulk is a very good example, right? You want Hulk the scientist, Hulk the humanitarian, to be there when it is a time to grow, when it is a time to do more creative things and do better for the mankind. But when there is a crisis, you want Hulk to be the Incredible Hulk, right? So they often say that a peacetime CEO and a wartime CEO are two different kinds of people, and often they are not found in the same person. But it can be found in the same person when you are able to understand both these aspects. To sum it up, I would say that whether you are wanted in a team or not, and whether you should want to be in a team, is basis these basic pillars, which is that how much of a contribution you can make, which is differentiated and needle moving in the team. And from the viewpoint of a team, if you're entering a toxic atmosphere, you can take up the mantle of actually trying to dismantle that a toxic atmosphere, or you can say that, look, this is a toxic atmosphere and this is not where my best talents will be used, and maybe it's time for me to look for a different team.
Thank you so much, Kunj. That was really, really helpful. For everybody who's watching this, one of the important parts of growth in professional life is being able to collaborate well with people. One of the things that we try to bring at AltUni in all our programs is the ability for you to work on a project with strangers. Right? These are people that you've not met before. You don't get to choose who you get to work with always in life. And hence it's extremely important to figure out how to collaborate in a team, and which is why we have the entire concept of live projects, where we give you a chance to collaborate with people who could be in different parts of the country, who might be in a very different life stage. Like we've had people working in groups who have had a 5-year, 7-year, 10-year gap in their experience level as well. However, we believe that helps you in becoming a better professional if you are collaborating with people from different backgrounds. And I think you should value experiences like these. Often you work on a project and the project may not get shortlisted, but even then that process itself has made you a better professional. So on that note, I'd like to conclude. Thank you so much, Kunj, for this session again.